Hello everyone, my name is Ivo and welcome to Cooking with the Koyas. When it comes to making bread, as you know, the longer it takes to make it, the better the bread. And I've got some great recipes that are overnight or take a little bit longer during the day. And I'll put some links in the description for you because those recipes are amazing. However, if you are pressed for time, you can also make a fantastic loaf of bread in 2 hours. That's right, folks, 2 hours, a nice artisan, crusty, fresh loaf of bread. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Let's get started. Okay, so here I have 400 grams that I've just weighed of all-purpose white flour. If you do not have a weigh scale, it is about 1 3/4 cups. And it's all-purpose white. And I'm going to add to that instant yeast. I have here 8 grams of instant yeast, which is equivalent to 2 teaspoons. So we just mix that in. Okay, and now I have here 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm using a fine salt. You do not want to use a coarse salt. Table salt is fine. So 1 teaspoon of salt, mix that in. And then my secret ingredient, folks, Diastatic malt powder, okay? This is like a superfood for yeast. And we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of the diastatic malt powder, which is equivalent to about 4 grams. So again, just mix that in. That's it, our flour is ready, it's that quick. To that, we are going to add 1 1/3 cups of water, okay? This is equivalent to 300 milliliters. And what I did with this water is I put it in the microwave for 60 seconds, 1 minute, because you want the water to be about anywhere between 100 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And then quite simply, mix it all together. And you can see it's got to all come together. So there's some dry parts and some wet parts. You want to mix it around and get all that flour incorporated with the water. So just continue mixing. I like using these spatulas for mixing, but you could also use wooden spoons. And of course, there's always your hands. Just be prepared. It's going to stick a little if you use your hands, of course. All right, so I like to just keep going around and around until I get it all absorbed. I'm going to give it a little more. Like I say, when you think you've mixed enough, mix a little bit more. Okay, all right, so now that it's all mixed, just scrape my edges. The spatula works fantastic. Okay, and then I just kind of form it into a ball. You don't necessarily have to do this. It's what I like to do. Okay, and now quite simply, that's the hard part, if you can believe it. That's it. Now, we put a lid on it. It's got to rest for 1 hour. And at the 45-minute mark, we're going to fire up the oven. So let's let it rest for 1 hour. I will cover it, keep it nice and cozy. And I'll come back at you at 45 minutes. We'll fire up the oven. And then after 1 hour, we're going to shape our bread. So it's been 45 minutes. That means it's time to fire up our oven. And I'm going to use my Dutch oven today. I highly recommend Dutch ovens. They work amazing for baking bread. If you don't have one, as long as your your pot is oven proof and as long as it has a lid. Because we're going to put this in empty into the oven. So just put it in the oven with the lid on, and we're going to crank that up to 475 degrees. Okay, so that's going to preheat, and then, like I say, in another 15 minutes, it would have been an hour. We'll take a look at our bread, and we'll get it proofed and ready to go. So it's been 15 more minutes, which means it's been an hour total. And look at that beautiful dough. It has pretty much doubled in size already. Look at that. Beauty. Okay, so I've got a proofing basket here. Got a little bit of, I'm going to use whole wheat flour here. So we're just going to put some whole wheat flour down. And in fact, before I take that dough out, I'm going to get my proofing basket ready. So what you want to do, if you don't have a proofing basket, you could use a bowl, but these are fantastic. And I like to just take my whole wheat flour, and you want to make sure you put enough of it on your bowl so that your dough does not stick. Okay, now you could use regular white flour to do this, but what I found is that the whole wheat flour does not absorb as much as the white, all-purpose white flour. So what I'm saying is the whole wheat flour, in my opinion, works better for the non-stick factor. Okay, and besides, it adds a little bit of rusticness to the dough. So there, that's ready. So our dough is going to go in there. Just put that aside. And with my spatula again, what I'm going to do is just slowly work it to get this dough out. So I'm just going to turn it to make it easier for me. And basically, you want to just carefully work this dough out. Beautiful dough for only an hour. It's only been an hour. Okay. And out it comes. There we go. Perfect. A little bit of more dough there. We'll just scrape that off. Put that back on there. Great. Okay, so now a little bit of flour on the hands. We're going to do some folds. Just pick up one end, and it's a little sticky because it is rather high hydration. Just lift and fold over. Okay, both ends, and then on the other end, same thing. Lift and fold over. And then on this side, lift and fold over. Okay, you can do another fold or two if you like. Okay. There, I've done 8 folds into a nice little ball. Turn it upside down. A little bit of flour on the hands. Now, what you do to shape this, you want to shape it into a tighter round. So the easiest way to do this is quite simply take the dough on this more or less raw surface. You don't want the flour on there, because when you grab it from the one side, you're going to pull it towards you. And as you pull it towards you, you can see it's kind of rolling. So let me turn it. If you notice this little dough bubble right here, all right, I'll put a little flour there, right there. Watch what happens when I pull towards me. See how it's moving forward? So what's happening is the dough ball is tightening up. It's tightening up. And it's a very, very easy and effective way to tighten up your dough. So you do it a few times just to tighten it up into a nice ball. Okay, that's great right there. All right, now I'm just going to pick it up and we're going to put it into our proofing basket. There we go. A little bit of flour on top. We're going to cover it up. It's going to have a nice rest for 15 minutes. Our 15 minutes have now passed. That means it's time to take our Dutch oven out of the oven. Okay. Out it comes. Piping hot. Now we're going to carefully put our bread dough in there. Okay, so remember, this is piping hot. So we're going to take our lid off and look at the dough. I don't know if you can tell, it's a little bit of a bubble there. It's risen so nicely in that 15 minutes. Look at that, check that out. So now what I'm going to do is very carefully just going to tilt this. I'm going to tilt it into the Dutch oven. I'm just going to guide it with my hand and then carefully place it inside, just like that. Now, with my bread lame, let's make a nice cut right up the middle. Okay, and we're gonna keep it simple today. We'll just make an X. You could get fancy, but we're just gonna keep it simple, folks. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, back on with the lid. Back in the oven it goes. There we go, 30 minutes. Our 30 minutes are now up. Time to take our lid off the Dutch oven. Let's take a look at the bread. Oh, it's looking good, folks. Check that out. Not quite done yet, though. It needs 15 more minutes with the lid off. Let's start the timer right now, 15 minutes. Stop. There goes our timer, folks. Our 15 minutes is up. Let's take a peek at our bread. Oh boy, looky there. Nice golden color to it. Now here's the thing. If you want it darker, folks, you can leave it in for another minute or two maximum. But I know Laura doesn't like hers necessarily darker. I do. But we're gonna leave it just as is right now. Take a look at this beautiful loaf of bread right there. Nice pattern to it from our cut on the top. And if we look at the bottom's a perfect color. Now, that's what I said too about this bread. If you let it stay another minute or two, be careful because you don't want the bottom to burn. So definitely no longer than that. So here's the thing, folks. It's been 2 hours, start to finish. It's hot. The bread is still forming. Of course, you can cut into it now. You can. But it's best to just sit and let it relax for at least 15 minutes. What happens is the bread is still forming and it'll be easier to cut as it cools. But having said that, if you can't resist, by all means, cut into it and go for it. But we're gonna let it rest for 15, 20 minutes and then we'll cut it and we'll take a look at the crust and the crumb. I have patiently waited for 20 minutes and should I add, while it was resting, you don't want it to rest. I prefer to let it rest on a cooling rack or I put it on a hot plate here. That way it doesn't sweat and it stays nice and crispy. So let's give a cut right up the middle. Already I can tell by the sound it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful loaf of bread. Oh my goodness, folks. I mean, you can see the steam, it's still steaming hot. Take a look at there. Nice crumb, look at the air pockets in there and the crust. You know what, for a 2-hour bread, look at that crust. You know what I need, folks? I need the taste test. Let me get a piece of this, let's do the taste test. Let's take a closer look. Check that out, folks. Right there, isn't that nice? Beautiful, beautiful fresh bread right there. And again, the bottom is cooked perfectly and the crust is relatively thick for a 2-hour bread. And the part that I like the best, I don't know about you, my favorite part is the end piece. And I typically like to put a little bit of olive oil on, or butter of course, but. Oh, it's still nice and warm. I'll tell you what, folks. An hour to make the dough. 15 minutes to proof it. 45 minutes to cook it. 2 hours, folks. You've got yourself a beautiful, beautiful fresh loaf of bread that you could have for yourself at the dinner table. Or you know what else is nice? If you get invited to a dinner party, you didn't have time to get out and get bread, you got a couple hours, you can now make a fresh loaf and bring it to your dinner party. Whatever the case may be, if you get an opportunity, give this quick 2-hour loaf of bread a try. You will not be disappointed. It's excellent. As I said earlier, cooking time longer, bread that's made for overnight, totally different, but for a 2-hour bread, you can't go wrong. Absolutely amazing. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you give it a try. And until next time, buon appetito. 2-hour bread. Fantastic.